All right, so I'm going to go over just a couple of the problems from the worksheet on Friday, because I did slip some in here that were a little bit tricky on purpose, okay? By the way, real quickly, to find the perimeter of any shape, you just add up all the sides, right? If it's a four-sided shape, you add up the four sides. If it's a three-sided shape, you add up the three sides. And that's really all we've done so far, four-sided and three-sided. And then for our area, we got two formulas. We have base times height, and what does that work for? No? Anything but a triangle, right? Well, not anything but a triangle, but the things that we've been looking at, yeah. It works for parallelograms, it works for rectangles and squares. That's really all we've looked at. Yeah, so that's your one formula. Your only other formula would be the same thing, but you put 1/2 in front of it, and this one works for triangles. Y'all, these are the only two formulas I'm asking you to memorize so far. These are really not hard formulas, especially because they're very similar, okay? So this one works for rectangles, squares, parallelograms. This one works for triangles. All right, so I'm going to just pick a few of these to go over, and then we'll turn this back into the basket. And those of you who didn't do it, you will need to do it sometime. So let's look at number 2. To find the perimeter, we want to add up all the outside sides. If the bottom is 19, so is the top. If this side is 10, so is the other side. So to find the perimeter, we're going to do 10 plus 10 plus 19 plus 19, and somebody tell me what that gave you. 58, that's good. So 58 yards for our perimeter. Get a pencil. It's okay. All right, so that's perimeter. For area, we're going to decide which one of these two formulas to use, and we're going to use the just base times height one, because this is a parallelogram. What would the base be? What number would we use? 19, and our height would be 8. So 19 times 8, and that would give us 152 yards squared. Okay, I'm going to pick another one or two to do. Let's look at number 5. So on number 5, perimeter, we're going to add up 7, 7, and 3, right? We're not going to include the 6, because that's the height. 7 plus 7 plus 3 is 17. So 17 inches for my perimeter. Now, area, now we're using the triangle formula because we got a triangle. 1/2 base times height. So, what do you think the base of this triangle is going to be? 3. 1/2 times 3, and then the height? 6. So 1/2 times 3 times 6? 9 inches squared. Very good. Now, I wanted to do number 5 and then go back and look at number 4. Because number 4, some folks I've found out that they thought this one was hard. Let's do perimeter. That's not hard. 8 plus 8 plus 11.3. That's easy. And that is, you should have gotten 27.3 on that one. Now, it's the area that some people found hard, because our formula says 1/2 base times height, and we have been talking about base, and we've been saying base means what?
The biggest one.
No, not necessarily.
Bottom.
The bottom. Base means bottom, and the thing about this shape is it doesn't have a bottom. Okay, so you're going to have to use a little creativity. Now, I put this on here to see what you guys would do. Okay, I didn't expect everybody to get it right. You've got to determine which side should be the base. So there's actually 2 ways you can look at it. You could turn it this way and visualize, oh look, this could be the bottom, and then this side would be my what? Height. Or you could flip it completely upside down, and this could be your bottom, and then that would make this side the height. It doesn't matter which one of those 2 ways. Now, the one thing that doesn't work, if you had decided that this side was going to be your bottom, the reason that I can't use this as my bottom is because now I don't have a height. If this is the bottom of my triangle, wouldn't this be the top? And the height is supposed to go from top to bottom. Well, that would be here. I don't know how long that is, and I can't measure it. because this says 8 yards. That's obviously not 8 yards. Measuring it does me no good. So this is the only one that couldn't work. So like you said, it really doesn't matter, especially since these two numbers are the same. One of them is going to be your base and one of them is going to be your height, depending on how you look at it. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 8 times 8, and that should give you 32. Good. Yeah, and I put that on there just wondering, you know, who could think outside the box a little bit, just, you know, switch it up a bit. There was also one more on the back where I put one on there that was intentionally kind of funny looking, and that would be number 9. Okay, so let's look at number 9. First thing is, if this side up here is 9 inches, then so is this one down here. If this one's 13, then so is this one. So my perimeter is 9 plus 9 plus 13 plus 13, and that is, okay, 44 inches. Now, it's the area one that I thought, okay, I might trick a few of them on this. Area formula is base times height. Now, base means bottom. The issue with using this as my base is we like the base to be flat, right? And that's not flat. The only really way that this works is if you turn this sideways and you visualize this as your base, and then what number would become my height? 7. And I think I told you guys this hint. If there's a dotted line, it's usually the height. Okay, so use that to help you turn your shape until this makes sense as the height. This is top, straight to bottom. So this right here must be my height, which means this must be my base.
Well, it wouldn't make sense if it was normal and the height was sideways.
If you did it like this,
No, like just normal.
just like it was,
Yeah, and then it was sideways.
right. It's not supposed to make, yeah, the height is supposed to go from top to bottom. So that's why you have to visualize it the other way. So we're going to do 13 as our base, times 7, and that is 91. Okay, so again, if you missed number 9 or you missed number 4, it's not a huge deal. We hadn't talked about that. I just wanted to see what you guys would come up with on those. All right, so that was actually what we just talked about is what I wanted to talk about today. I've got 6 examples here that we're going to do together. And there are a whole bunch. This is for you to keep for future references. But I wanted these examples to be turned kind of funny because that is the only time where perimeter and area can get confusing, is when I don't really know what's my base. So this will not take us very long to do. Let's look at example 1. First, let's knock out the perimeter. We want to add up our 3 sides. 8 plus 3 plus 8.5. 8 plus 3, whoops. And that gives me 19.5 yards. Calling on people. Okay, area. Looking at a triangle, we know that's the 1/2 times base times height formula. So, this is what I was just talking about on that worksheet. When you have do y'all know what kind of triangle this is called when it has this little box up here?
Wouldn't that be like equal sides?
No. It means it's a right angle, which makes this a right triangle. Okay, anytime you see that box, you have what's called a right triangle. That's a geometry thing. It's okay if you didn't know that. It's geometry. This class isn't geometry. So when you have a right triangle, what you always want to do is you want to use one of these 2 sides as your base. You can either look at it like this, or you can look at it like this. Either way, one of these is your base, the other one is automatically your height. Okay, so I can say, are you paying attention, Mason? I can say 8 is my base, 3 is my height. Or I could say 3 is my base, and that would make 8 my height. It does not matter which one you choose. Okay, so the only one you don't want to use is this 8.5 one. It doesn't work because if it is your base, we don't have the height. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2, and let's say I use 3 as my base. Then that would make 8 my height. And then I punch that in the calculator. 1/2 times 3 times 8 to get 12 yards squared. Okay, let's look at example 2. Perimeter. Do y'all notice anything wrong with this problem? What's the problem?
Not filled in all the way.
We don't have enough information, okay? Now, some people, when they see this, they're going to add up 6, 13, and 10 and give me the perimeter, but 10 is not even part of the triangle, okay? It's a dotted line. Dotted lines aren't part of it. We don't know this side. So you know what? We can't find the perimeter. But maybe we can find the area. So area, 1/2 base times height. All right, so you're going to have to get creative and figure out which side is meant to be the base. And the way that you figure that out is figure out which side did they try to give you as the height. Which side's probably the height there? 10. So if that's my height, then you want to turn this or visualize it. You don't even have to actually turn it, but you want to visualize it from top to bottom. Top to bottom. Well, that must mean this is my bottom. So this is my base. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2 times a base of 6 times a height of 10. Those are the only things that are going to work with what we've been given. 6 is my base, 10 is my height. If I type that in the calculator, it should give you 30. Good. So it is interesting. Sometimes you can find your area even if you couldn't find your perimeter. It also could work the other way. Sometimes you might find your perimeter and not be able to find your area. All right, example 3. Perimeter. We're going to add up 10 plus 8 plus 5 real quick. And that is 23. Okay, how about area? We are looking at a triangle. So 1/2 BH. I always start with my formula. Now, we need to determine which side what's the only side I can use for my base. And the way that you determine that is what did they try to tell me was the height. So, looking at it the way that it is, you would think 5 is your base, right? Because that's the bottom. But the problem is, if 5 is the base, isn't this the top of my triangle? And the height goes from top straight down. And I don't know what that is, right? So we're going to have to switch this. They gave us this dotted line. They probably meant for us to use that as the height, right? So 3 is supposed to be my height. Well, that would make what my base? 10. Make sense? All right, so back to my formula. I'm doing a lot of switching here. I'm probably going to make the virtual students sick with all that, but that's okay. Times 10 for my base, we said, and 3 for my height. And that gives us what? 15 meters squared. Okay, again, it is very important which side is the only side you can use for your base. Sometimes it's not the bottom. You might have to switch it around.
How do you know when to square it?
Area, you always square your units. Perimeter, you never do. All right, let's look at example 4. Now, this is not a triangle. This is something else. And it's kind of hard to tell what this shape is, but if you turn it like this, maybe it looks a little bit better. But remember, the opposite sides are equal. Okay, so if this side is 6, that means this side is what? 6. And if this side is 8, then this one's 8. So we can get our perimeter, 6 plus 6 plus 8 plus 8. And that is 28. Okay, now for the area. First question is, what formula do we use? This isn't a triangle, so we use base times height. Now, again, use what they give you. What do you think is supposed to be the height here? 3. It's supposed to be the dotted line. So if this is the height, it only makes sense for it to be turned like this. So what would my base be then? 6. This must be my base.
I thought the house was supposed to go from like the top.
It's supposed to be from top to bottom. Now usually they do it like over here in the corner, but from here to here and from here to here is actually the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't put it over in the corner. A lot of times they do though. Alright, so my base is 6, we said, and my height is 3, and 6 times 3 is 18. Good. Meters squared. Alright, I want you guys to try examples 5 and 6 real quick by yourself. Some of you have already worked ahead, and that's okay. Okay, so real quickly, let's do examples 5 and 6. So for example 5, first of all, we need to fill in the rest of our sides to find the perimeter. What's this side length going to be? 7. And what's this one going to be? So we're going to do 20, 27, and 7. Add all that up, and that is 54. Twenty, 27, and 7.
I
Yeah,
almost
that's-
had 6 or 4.
okay, that's all right. All right, for our area formula first. What formula are we using? Base times height. Now, what is the height? What do you think they were trying to show us as the height? 5. The dotted line is 5. So that must mean here's how it's supposed to be looking. And so my base would be 20. Good. So 20 for my base, 5 for my height. 20 times 5, 100. And my units inches squared. Very good. Okay, example 6. Perimeter. We're going to add up 10, 11, and 6 to get 27, and that's miles. It's a huge triangle. Okay, for my area, first thing is my formula, 1/2 base times height. This one should be pretty obvious. What's my height supposed to be? 8.5. And if that's my height, which one's my base? 6. Good. So 1/2 times 6 times 8.5. Good. 25.5 miles squared. That's it. Okay.